is the news and talk of Texas. Now, it's the Rick Roberts Show on 820 AM, 99.5 FM, HD2, News Talk 820, WBAP.
Well, I know there's got to be a few 100 million more like me, just trying to keep it free. Yeah.
Rick Roberts starts right now.
All right, 2:04 the time. Did anybody, anywhere, watch any of the Oscars? I have not found one person that watched the Oscars. As a matter of fact, David, I talked to you earlier on the phone about something we're doing with Governor Abbott tomorrow night, and you asked me something about the Oscars, and what was my retort?
Oh, was that on last night?
I mean, seriously, viewers absolutely jumped ship because of Jimmy Kimmel's divisive Trump bashing. I mean, the fact that the movie crop was pretty mediocre didn't help either, but Kimmel, look, you're in the business of entertaining. You know, if I were to come on here every day and say, you know what, I'm not really a conservative, I'm not really an independent, I'm a liberal, and did 3 hours of liberal talk, you'd be able to hear crickets. I mean, seriously. I mean, that's why I came to work here. I have a conservative show, have had for 25 years. So obviously, WBAP is not going to go, gosh, we need to find a Jimmy Kimmel to put on. Why would you do that? Kimmel doesn't get it. Kimmel just doesn't get it. That's why I said the other day, man, I really miss, in the wee hours of the night, at least they're wee hours to me, I miss Letterman. I miss Leno. I miss being able just to kick back and be entertained, not preached to. Does that make sense at all?
Of course it makes sense.
I mean, I'll tell you how bad it's gotten.
Tell me.
What's the name of that station? It's called Decades or something like that. I'm watching reruns of Ed Sullivan, for crying out loud. I'm watching him spin plates and a goofy puppet mouse.
There's nothing wrong with that.
You know, it's like you can't turn on late night television and be entertained. You can be preached to.
Yes.
Well, today, here's the news according to Trump. I mean, you know, stop. What happened to late night shows that were entertaining? You know, they'd have the artist du jour, the musician that had the, top 10 record or whatever it is. Or they'd have jokes that weren't all about politics. It just, there's nothing to watch anymore. I mean, you've got Kimmel. Who else is on? It's just
Jimmy Fallon.
Fallon.
See, and I like Fallon. He's okay.
He's all right.
It's
still not entertaining.
He's my age, somewhere around there. And the other guy, Colbert.
I can't stand
Colbert.
Won't
even watch him.
I didn't like him in the show he had before this one.
When he was on Comedy Central?
Yeah, whatever it was.
I didn't think it was that comedy.
And then there's the late night guy. I don't know, he's English or something.
Craig Kilborn, the Scottish guy?
Maybe, is that who he is? Okay.
I Bucko.
No.
Is it the one with the skeleton?
No, it's kind of a heavy set guy. Got a beard.
Oh, I know. Oh, give me a second.
Isn't that all of them?
Gosh, I can't remember. Anyway, he's not funny either. It's just, there's nothing to watch late at night. There's, at least not for me.
James Corden.
Corden, that's it. Yeah, Craig Kilborn, he's not bad. Yeah, he's Scottish. And I only know that because my dad was born there. But it just, there's just nothing on. So Kimmel can't figure out why the Oscars had the lowest ratings in years and years and years, because it was politically charged. Is that why you watch the Oscars? I didn't watch, so I don't know. I've watched trailers, but Jimmy Kimmel's divisive, politically charged Oscars could be the least watched in history. He claimed he was keeping this year's Oscars positive, but the ratings were anything but positive. It was politically charged, as you'd guess, down almost 16%. That's huge, by the way, compared to 2017. It's just, I'm tired of it. I think most people, plus the movies weren't all that great either. It's just, I'm not a movie guy. I can't sit in one spot for 2.5 hours. I just can't do it. I mean, if I can pause it and make a sandwich, come back later, that's okay.
Have you been to a movie theater lately?
No.
You have to go in and register and reserve your seat beforehand.
Okay, well, see, I'm not doing that.
Well, I didn't want to do it either. I got drugged there a couple of times, but I just
got drugged? What kind of drug?
Dragged, I'm sorry.
Oh, dragged, okay.
I have to take some drugs to get me to see some of this.
It's not worth it to me. I mean, Hollywood genuinely hates the people they expect will pay to see their movies. They just, I'm sorry, I don't get it. You think anyone would be smarter than that. Here's your audience. Who said this? These people right here are the ones that separate themselves from their disposable income to support your movies, which you get paid for. So let's be as nasty to them as we can possibly be. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Sure it does. All right. I told you we're going to be doing something with the governor tomorrow, and I'll tell you about that in just a little bit. We need to check your afternoon drive. Man, it just sounds like I'm dogging on 18-wheelers, but good Lord, it's a mess out there, and it's a mess because of 18-wheelers. You guys move over. What is this breaker 19 for the duck? Come on. I mean, what is that nonsense? I mean, you're not out in the middle of Montana someplace. You're coming into downtown Dallas. It's, and I realize the four-wheelers out there are probably even worse, but man, when you guys get in the way, I mean, what's this, 3 abreast convoy? What is that about? Yeah, breaker 19, we got a bear up here on the exit. Come on. What? Just move over, will you? 10-4, I can do that. What's your 20? Okay, let me step aside. Check your afternoon drive. Let's find out where the 18-wheelers are, shall we? Let's do that.
WBAP Traffic Watch.
All right, 16 minutes after the hour, 2:16 the time. All right, according to David, I already made 2 truck drivers mad. That's not my intent to make you mad. Just move over. I mean, you put 3 18-wheelers abreast on 35. What do you expect's going to happen? All right, enough about that. I didn't come on the air to bitch and moan about truck drivers, but man, they're different than they used to be. I used to enjoy it. As a matter of fact, when I was driving long distances, I would wait until late at night, and the four-wheelers were all gone. Nothing was on the road except 18-wheelers. And you can drive with them because they were professional drivers. Now they just must be handing out these CDL licenses to anybody that's got a pulse.
Rick, when I was driving home on Friday, I think part of the problem is with the four-wheel drivers.
Yeah.
They don't know what a rear-view mirror is. I don't think they know what a side mirror is.
Yeah.
Because they'll get in that fast lane and won't even move.
No, it's a nightmare out there.
I know.
They're handing driver's licenses out like they're chiclets.
Okay, I'm done.
All right. Let me get to your calls. Let's go to David in Pottsboro. David, where is Pottsboro?
Hey there, Rick. It's right up by Lake Texoma, about a couple of miles south of it.
Okay, I know exactly where you are then. Okay, what's going on?
Well, I watched it last night, the Academy Awards, and I'm a singer-songwriter and a screenwriter, and I, got an interest in the industry, but I have to tell you, it was the most boring show I have ever seen in my life, with the most horrible singers and the most horrible songs nominated. Plus, they had a whole show sort of full of Mexico dancers, and it was the most horrible show I've ever seen. Besides all the political crap that came out, I had to turn it off after an hour and a half, and I was so disgusted.
Well, I got to admit, I'm not a big Oscars fan in the first place. But the last thing I want are a bunch of late night comedians, which I don't even know if they'd have a career if it wasn't for President Trump. I mean, if you watch the late night shows, I mean, this must be the easiest gig in town for their writers. They all sit in a room, eat cold pizza, and okay, what else did Trump do? And that's what they regurgitate to their host. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's nothing funny about it anymore.
He was not funny at all. He was so boring. It was unbelievable. I don't even see how he could call himself a comedian.
Well, by the way, have you written anything that I would recognize? I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, but you said you're a songwriter and so on.
Well, I pitched my screenplay at the producers conference at Paramount Studios back in 2015, and it's a historical drama, and it got a good review, but they're not making any good movies anymore, hardly.
Well, it's
Dunkirk looks good.
Yeah, Dunkirk looks like it might be something. But you know as well as I do, there are certain kind of movies, popular films, The Last Jedi, Beauty and the Beast, Wonder Woman, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, so on, Spider-Man. They don't give Oscars out for those. I mean, no. They just ignore those. They simply aren't the type of films that are honored by the Academy. Except in, the special effects and so on. But, nothing about that interests me. It's a bunch of self-serving individuals that think I care what they think politically. Or quite honestly, about anything other than a movie. I don't care what they think. I mean, they're in a movie, they were a good actor or they weren't. It doesn't matter I don't care what their favorite ice cream is or their favorite color or what they drive or where they I just don't care. And I certainly don't take my political cues from a bunch of actors. I don't do that. It's just, well, okay, enough about that. And good luck with your screenwriting and your songwriting and so on. It's a tough business. It's a hugely tough business. Let's go to Daryl in Dallas. Daryl, thanks for waiting. How you doing, Daryl?
Good. Well, how are you doing, sir?
I'm well, thank you.
Great. I just want to say just first is I agree with a lot more of what you say than most of the other right-wing type people.
Well, that's interesting. You let me repeat that so I can get in my head.
Sure.
You agree with me on a lot more than the other right-wing people, which implies that I'm right-wing, I guess. Why is that?
Well, I mean, just from my perspective, you offer a more realistic approach to things. I can't think of one off the bat.
No, you just said it, because when people ask me, well, what are you this? Are you negative? Are you a fatalist? No, I'm a realist. I see things,
right.
I try to see things for what they really are.
However, in my opinion, there's two things that I've been hearing over the last week or two that I just can't get with. And the first one, which I didn't mention to your producer, however, the first one is God in schools.
Right.
But one I did mention to your producer was, just because you don't agree or you don't think it's funny that, Jimmy Kimmel or these late night talk shows agree with you, you don't think they are worth, it's not worth your while to listen to. And
yeah, I don't view things through the filter of whether someone agrees with me or not. I've been doing this too long, for 25 years. And quite honestly, whether they agree with me or I agree with them never even is part of the equation. It's just, is it entertaining to me? Is it funny? And it's not. At least, that part of it, which I consume.
Trump is not funny. To me, Trump is a joke, and it's not funny. It's a bad joke.
Yeah, and there are people that feel that way. I get that.
Yeah, me. Yeah. So, anyway, this is my first time ever calling into a radio show. I'm a little, nervous, I guess you could say. However,
no, the first radio talk show you choose to call is a conservative. I'm probably conservative, but politically I'm independent, but I'm a conservative, no doubt. There are certain things I just don't care about because in the big picture, it just doesn't make any difference. Trump. I'm glad Trump was elected, if for no other reason than to send a message to Democrats and Republicans alike that we don't work for them, they work for us. And if you don't believe me, how do you think a real estate developer gets behind the desk in the Oval Office? I think there are a lot of upsides to it. Yeah, there's some negatives, no doubt. But no, agreeing with me never, ever enters the equation.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's kind of what I appreciate about, listening to you. And in fact, if I may mention that the reason I listen to like right-wing radio is I like to see a different perspective. However, I have a very hard time coming to agreement with anybody I hear. Like truly, it's very difficult. I like maybe 1 to 2 out of, 20% out of what I hear, I can try to agree with. However,
well, it's Daryl. It's like me trying to sit down and enjoy MSNBC. I mean,
sure, yeah, I appreciate that.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, I believe something. My grandfather raised me, and I believe the older I got, the smarter he got. But he told me one time, no one is ever 100% right or 100% wrong 100% of the time.
I like it.
And if, I'll give you an example, and then I know I got a break. Patty Schroeder, cool. One of the most hair-on-fire liberals you'll ever meet out of Colorado, she came up with the National Child Protection Act, a great piece of legislation. So if I were to dismiss her out of hand simply because she's a Democrat, I would have missed that. So I try not to miss anything, but man, watching MSNBC is tough. Well, it looks like we've got a smudge on one of the cameras. It was probably a Trump surrogate that did. I mean, come on.
Well said, sir.
All right, buddy.
Thank you for taking my call. Appreciate it.
You call me anytime. 2:26 the time. Eric Bushman standing by with the very latest news, and we'll check your afternoon drive. When we come back, look what you have done to Facebook. I'll tell you about that next. All right, 2:33 the time. Oh, I said that like I really cared about what time it was. 2:33 the time. All right, 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227. Don't ask me about the Oscars. Didn't watch them. All right, if I want to, you could have tuned in the Oscars or MSNBC. You would have got the same content. All right, so there you go. Now, speaking of content that makes a difference, we did a show. It's on the podcast about putting God and guns back in school. If you're asking for a long-term fix to school violence, then yes, put God and guns back in school. Because there are biblical principles that work for whatever well, I guess if you're a Wiccan or you're out in the backyard sacrificing goats at midnight, maybe it won't work. But biblical principles have worked since the founding of the country, and they work in schools. Immediately, I think law enforcement needs to be put in schools, uniformed law enforcement. I think that's good on several different levels. Get rid of these social experiments where let's not arrest them. Let's make them color in a coloring book or something goofy. I think law enforcement in the schools, we've already come to that point. And then long term, we need to value human life once again. So I did something on Facebook. Now, I don't have a personal Facebook. It's more than I could keep up with. But I am on Facebook with WBAP. So if you go to Facebook, WBAP, and you scroll about halfway down, you'll see my picture. And it says hashtag God and Prayer Back in Schools. And if you click on either one of those links, you can hear about, 5-10 minutes of the show I did. Would you like to know what you have done? I didn't have anything to do with this. I just went off on a rant, and David posted it on Facebook. David, give me the amount of people, Facebook keeps track, people reached. How many people have we reached?
Okay, my computer did a refresh right now, so I'm scrolling there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin this back to the top of the page for people who can see it. So if you just give me a few minutes, I'll get those numbers for you in a second.
Okay. All right. We'll do that for you in just a second. But you came through. You came through in a big, big way. People reached was if, like, you share it, and that's what we ask. We ask that you would go there. If you want to listen to the link, if you want to listen to me rant and rave, you can do that. But we ask that you would share it. And then, of course, Facebook keeps track of that share, and then another share, and then if they share, and so on. And that's the way you get the word out, right? And the numbers were staggering. I have several friends that have a national platform, a national audience, and I've talked to them about this. And look, like that last call, some people don't agree. I get that. But I feel, you pick your battles, and this is the one I chose to pick. Putting God and prayer back in schools. And you would not believe the number of people that have actually gone there, listened to a portion of the show, and then shared it. As a matter of fact, David, do you have the numbers yet?
Yeah, 68,655.
68,000 people. That's amazing to me. Absolutely amazing. So if you've not gone there, please do so. If you get a moment, go to Facebook, WBAP.
And now it's at the top of the page.
It's at the top of the page, so you don't have to scroll down. Well, I mean, go ahead and scroll down. You can see what the other shows are doing and whatnot, but it's at the top of the page. If you get a chance, listen to that Rick Roberts, Why the NRA, with NRA TV. That's how the whole thing kind of started, but it works its way into God and prayer back in schools. And if you'd be kind, if you feel like it, share it, and hopefully they will share it too. What I'd like to do, I'd like to get this thing up to 100,000 people and then take it national. That's what I'd like to do, and then expose it on a national stage. So that's the plan. Now, we've got something going on tomorrow night, which I'll tell you about in just a second, concerns the governor. Let's go to Angelo in Arlington. Angelo, thank you for waiting. How you doing, Angelo?
I'm doing very good, and from my previous calls, I always bring up God and prayer in schools, or just in society in general. So I'm on board with you, and I offer my services. I don't know if you're just doing that on Facebook, or you're going to have some type of promotion somewhere or what, but I'm working the polls. I worked the polls all last week, and when people asked me about voting, that was one of the things I told them. And they asked me about gun control, and I said, it's not about gun control. It's about God control. And this is my reason. I said, because anyone, and you know this, anyone who wants to do killing is going to find any means to do it. They will use a gun, a homemade gun, a rock, a baseball bat, a pitchfork, whatever they can get their hands on, because it's not the weapon they use, it's the person behind the evil act.
So I agree with you. And I don't know how often we need to, go through that dialogue before people finally get it. I don't know. Maybe some will never get it. But it's, you're right. It has nothing to do with guns or knives or nunchucks or brass knuckles or anything else. It has to do with the software, what's between the ears of a criminal.
Right, and there was a man on there ranting and raving on the Chris Alzado show the other day, so I called in, and I said that exactly what I just said to you. But when I got to knives, I said, so Ray, and all you people listening, when are we going to ban knives that Planned Parenthood use at all?
We're not. And honestly, Angelo, if I may, I give some advice.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
I don't even bring up that argument anymore, because, when are they going to ban cars? When are they going to ban knives? When are they going to ban that? I mean, it's really a vicious circle of dialogue with no beginning and no end. I simply, when people say, well, what are we going to do? My first thing I say is, have you prayed? What?
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
Have I prayed? What has that got to do? Have you prayed?
Right.
The country was founded on the principles of the Bible, and since the removal of God and prayers from schools, we've got all kinds of changes, and most of them we don't want. Violence has gone up to horrific levels, just like we saw in Florida. General morals and values don't even exist anymore. Human life has been devalued. Drug use and drug sales have increased tremendously. Profanity. And a bad word every once in a while, I do it. I'll drop a damn or a hell or something like that. I'm not proud of that, but I'll do it. But I'm talking about the F-bomb. Profanity by kids has become the accepted language. And basically what they're saying is, I don't respect myself enough to use proper language, and I certainly don't respect you, or I wouldn't be cursing in front of you. So the biblical principles work whether you're a Jew or a Gentile. It doesn't matter.
Right. Do you remember? Am I still on?
Yeah.
Do you remember when we went to school when we were young? I always remember this. I went to Catholic school all the way through high school. But I remember my friends in the neighborhood. If they didn't get it at home, the discipline and the proper language, like you said, they got it in the schools. Now, it's a double barrel where they don't get it at home, they don't get it at schools. And as far as, I won't bring it up, the Oscars, it's nothing but sex and violence in movies. I don't even go to the movies anymore. I don't want to watch football no more, baseball. It's supposed to be entertainment to relieve your mind from all these world problems, and you got to go there and you got to see all this garbage out there anymore. So I do what you say. I go to church on Sundays. I go to church every morning. I get my prayers. I read my prayers, and I enjoy my life.
Well, if you remember, prior to the removal of God and prayer from schools, from public schools, the learning environment, the classroom, the school itself, it was valued. It was appreciated by the kids that went there and the parents. And the respect levels were entirely different than they are today. I mean, a classroom and a teacher was something you respected, you valued. Not anymore. I mean, basically, we've turned our educators into a bunch of babysitters and the administrators into a bunch of weak-kneed idiots that are afraid of their own shadow and afraid of getting sued. Wait a minute, you want to come with me? What'd I do? I'm just walking down the hall to class. No, come with me. Did you say Merry Christmas? I mean, it's stupid. All right. Good call, Angelo. I appreciate it very much. We'll get to your calls. I promise you that. 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227. I got to tell you what's going on tomorrow. Also, we need to open up the lines and get to your calls. Angelo, good call. Thanks for waiting. I appreciate it. On News Talk, 820 WBAP. All right, 2:49 the time. I'm Rick Roberts. This is News Talk, 820 WBAP. I'll be telling you about what we're doing tomorrow night. It's a Facebook. Very, very good for you. What's wrong with me? I'm speaking in foreign tongues.
It's okay. It's Facebook.
Gee whiz. It's a Facebook live schedule. The governor, myself, Alex Trevino, gosh, there are going to be a lot of people there. Kelly Hancock, Mark Davis, a lot of folks will be there. And it's something that you can tune in wherever you happen to be. Just tune into Facebook and you can see what's going on. I'll tell you about that after the top of the hour. Also after the top of the hour, Texas early voting numbers are huge for Democrats. What happened to the conservatives in the early voting? If you think you can cakewalk this thing simply because Trump's in office, you're laboring under a sad misconception. David in Temple. David, thank you for waiting. I appreciate it. How you doing, David?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good.
Listen, this Bible study that they've taken out of the schools, that was the original intent of the public schools in the 13 original colonies, was Bible study. And since they've taken that out, they've replaced it with the theory of evolution, which is a bunch of garbage. It teaches that we came from monkeys and evolutionized bacteria. But the fact of the matter is that you would never replace a human heart valve with a monkey heart valve, because the DNA is nothing alike. And the DNA theory wasn't even around when Darwin compiled the theory of evolution. Now we know it's just a big joke. What they replace heart valves with is a pig's heart valve, which is nothing like a human or a monkey either. So it doesn't make any sense. The theory of evolution it's a fairy tale. That's all it is.
Well, I mean, we can argue the curriculum. They're going to do what they're going to do.
But they're teaching we're animals.
Well, yes, and they've been doing that for a long time.
And we're turning into animals.
Well, yes, I would agree with that. The difference is that now you have no biblical principles to even the playing field out. I've long said this, and please, if you're a teacher, don't take it personal. If my kids were of an age where they were in public schools, I'd get them out. Parochial school, private school, charter school, home school. There is no way I would subject my kid to public education. And it's very simple, because of government involvement. Because of government involvement, the public education has become a giant social petri dish for every goofball agenda that comes down from D.C. And I truly believe that. It has nothing to do with the teachers. Most teachers don't start teaching because they're going to retire at 40 years old in Barbados. They do it because they have a love of learning and a love of sharing that knowledge. The problem with public education is the federal government. That's the problem. So, David, I agree with you as far as the argument, but you're not going to change the curriculum. I mean, look at Fort Worth Independent School District. I mean, their superintendent wasted, a month trying to figure out what bathrooms kids should use if they get up in the morning feeling extra pretty. I think I'm more of a girl than a guy. Yeah, but you got the plumbing. It doesn't matter. I think I'm trapped inside a guy's body. Okay, well, you can use the girl's bathroom then. I mean, that's absurd. It's absurd. It's nuts. Rick, if there's one student out there that feels uncomfortable, so you indict the entire school population because of a couple of kids that are probably more screwed up at home than they are in schools. It makes no sense to me. And I don't want to be a part of it. And I wouldn't want my kids to be a part of it. Well, Rick, are you saying you hate transgender people? No. I don't hate anybody until I get to know them, and then I'll decide whether I hate them or not. I'm just saying this whole transgender thing, I mean, what's next? What's the next classification? Anybody? Yeah, who knows what it's going to be. Makes absolutely no sense to me. And it certainly doesn't belong in the public schools. I mean, we can barely educate kids where they can read and write at an 8th grade level upon graduation. So, when it gets into this whole socialization thing, what if a kid doesn't have a parent that's involved? Well, if you know that, then maybe you can take some extra time with that kid. You don't indict the entire population of the school. All right. 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227. When we come back, we're going to talk about a couple of things. I'll tell you what we're involved with tomorrow and how you can view that, if you like. Also, Democrats came out in droves for early voting. I don't know if that's a precursor to the primaries, but it doesn't look good. I'm wondering where all the Republicans are. Your calls straight ahead, 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227. Your calls next.
This is the news and talk of Texas. Now, it's the Rick Roberts Show on 820 AM, 99.5 FM, HD2, News Talk 820, WBAP.
Well, I know there's got to be a few hundred 100 million more like me, just trying to keep it free. Yeah.
Rick Roberts starts right now.
All right, 3:04 the time. It is your afternoon drive for Dallas-Fort Worth. And toll free anywhere in the country, 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227. Well, I'm looking at this. Texas early voting numbers. Democrats doubled their highest turnout historically. That was 2014. The primary elections are in sight. Texans have already turned out for early voting in high numbers, especially among Democrats. Now, why am I telling you this? Because it's important. You know, I realize Republicans, at least at a federal level, are not at the best at winning because they've done it so few times. But you got everything now. You got the White House. You got both houses. A record number of governorships across the country. Now is not the time to walk away. According to the Texas Secretary of State's website, 205,000, well, a little over, about almost 206,000 people voted early in the 2014 Democratic primary. This year, double the number. 406,000 plus Democrats voted early. That's a 98% increase. I'll say it again. If you think this thing is over, it's not even begun. It's a 98% increase. On the GOP side, 350,000 people voted early in the Republican primary in 2014. That number went down, showing a 16% decline. I mean, that's, you know, could this signal the beginning of a blue wave hitting the state of Texas? Man, let's hope not. It could happen. Now, the UT Arlington Associate Professor of Political Science, Alan Sachs, of course, he's on everywhere, when comparing early voting numbers in 2014 midterms and 2018, there are about 250,000 more people early voting this year than in 2014. In North Texas, Collin and Denton County each experienced more than a 250% increase in early voting. Now, that traditionally, the political party that does not control the White House does better in the primaries. That appears to be true when if you're going to analyze early voting numbers across Texas. Democrats are no doubt energized, and they're showing up. And why am I saying that? If you're a conservative or a Republican, you need to get busy. The Republicans are behind the traditional 8-ball, the historical 8-ball in the primaries. But a lot of stuff can happen between now and the fall that could turn things around. It may not be because of Donald Trump. I would venture to say a good percentage of it is. Trump, yes. We've got a non-politician politician. I like a lot of the things he's doing, but he's also energized the Democratic Party voters. It could instead be because of changes to the demographics in Texas. At least that's what Sachs says it might be. I immerse myself in this every day, hours a day, 5 days a week, every month, month after month for a couple of decades. And I don't even pretend to have the same base of knowledge that Sachs has, but I'm afraid that with the good comes the bad, and Trump has energized the Democratic base. Now, that's nothing to worry about unless Republicans sat home in the lazy boy watching the new season premiere of Survivor. That could be a problem. All right. Let me get to Jim in Plano. Jim, thank you for waiting. I appreciate your patience. How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing fine, Rick. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
I sure enjoy your show.
Thank you.
I don't know if my situation, in fact, I can't say if my situation is generally applicable, but for me over here in Collin County, I purposely waited until tomorrow to vote in the hopes that some new information would come to light, especially in Philip Huffines versus Angela Paxton.
Man, that's a mess, isn't it?
Wow, oh man! Every time I hear you guys playing their political ads on your station, the last one I hear, I say, "Oh yeah, that one," and then they play another one. "Oh yeah, that one." I'm just going back and forth. So I was hoping there would be some more information come out, but there hasn't been. So
no, they seem
my mind.
both individuals seem to be satisfied with letting the same ads play themselves out. Yes. And I think you hit a point of diminishing returns. I've seen it time and time again. Like I said, for a couple of decades, I've been doing TV and radio for 25 years. And wow. You get to a point of diminishing returns. And I could bring up several commercials on television. Several don't have anything to do with politics, but sure. They have worn out their welcome with the viewers. You could probably recite them chapter and verse. When you get to that point, it's time to pull the ads.
Or at least pull them and come out with some new information of some kind.
Exactly. Yeah. Because when people become saturated with the information contained in an ad, what happens when they get saturated, they tune it out. So, you need to have good people monitoring that. There are people that their entire business is that. Okay, it's time to pull and put something else in.
Yeah. I've been doing researching on my own, doing as good a job as I can, doing Google and Bing and all kinds of other searches, just trying to come up with new information, and it's all the same stuff. What's in the ads is all what I'm finding, even online. So
yeah,
hasn't been real helpful, unfortunately.
So, Jim, basically, you're just you didn't early vote because you haven't made up your mind yet.
Yes, and I was hoping some new information would come out.
Well,
tomorrow.
I'm telling you, it's not going to. So
I can see that.
So you're gonna have to use what you've got available to you and make a decision. But I'm right with you. Those ads. I can hear them in my head. They hit the saturation point about 2 or 3 weeks ago. You see, if it were me and if I were one of the candidates, I would run that until I felt it was saturated. Then I'd have a whole new thing to inject both on television and radio. All right, but then again, that doesn't help you, Jim, because I'm not running for anything. 12 minutes after the hour, let's check your afternoon drive. All right, 17 minutes after the hour, 3:17 the time. Got a call earlier today. Governor Abbott, which has been on the show several times, invited me to be a part of something he is doing tomorrow night. And of course, I accepted. And you can be a part of it as well. As long as you can get to a Facebook tomorrow, just like starting, we got to go over this, but the first hour of the show every day will be on Facebook Live. Well, tomorrow night, you want to be able to get there. If you got a tablet or a laptop or even your smartphone, you can be a part of this. And I was very, very humbled and honored that the governor would extend the invitation. So thank you very much. John Jackson is with me. He's the campaign manager for Governor Greg Abbott. Mr. Jackson, how you doing?
Doing great today, Rick. How about yourself?
We're
excited you were able to join us tomorrow night to be on Facebook Live with the governor and our campaign team to talk about our election results in this state here. So
it's going to be
getting excited for that.
You bet. It's going to be a good time. There are going to be a lot of people involved. Tell people how they can be a part of this, how they can dial up and see the governor and everybody.
Great question, Rick. And like you said, you have to have access to Facebook account. And if you go to the governor, Greg Abbott, his campaign account, Texans for Greg Abbott. Like his page, you'll get a notification around 8:30 that we're starting to go live, and the feed will be there on his Facebook page, Texans for Greg Abbott there. Folks across the state, not only in the Metroplex area, can tune in live and hear about election results that we'll be broadcasting across the state there. With your help there as well, giving a little commentary and hearing what's going on, returns, some local areas may only be covering their races, but we wanted to give the state an opportunity to hear about other races that are going to affect them as well.
I think this is pretty cool because with the advent of social media, you can reach out to the entire country and in real time give the information. People can see what the governor of their state is having to say. You've asked for my analysis on some things, and I'll be more than happy to do that. How's it looking, by the way?
Well, we're excited about the governor's race here, and really just curious to see what Election Day turnout does. As everybody's probably reported across the state, Republican and Democrat turnout is up. So we're just excited to see what's going to happen on Election Day and see if that trend continues as well. And like you mentioned about social media, so many times that you have election night parties and they happen to be in one part of the state, but that means the rest of the state doesn't get to join in and watch the election results with the governor or with the candidate, statewide candidate. But we felt like Facebook was a great avenue for everybody across the state to be able to share in on an election night watch party, if you will, with the governor. So we just thought it was a lot more inclusive to everybody in Texas as opposed to folks that only lived in Dallas or Houston or Fort Worth and other parts of the state. So we just thought it was a great way to get our supporters and the governor in front of as many Texans as we possibly can.
I think it's talking with John Jackson, campaign manager for Governor Greg Abbott. I think it's a fantastic idea. I'm going to get the opportunity to do a back and forth with the governor and give some analysis on what's going on. And everybody that wants to can bring it up and take a look. Let's tell them one more time, Mr. Jackson, how we can get that up for them.
Yep, great. So everyone that's, if you're interested in watching the Facebook Live tomorrow night at 8:30, make sure you've liked Texans for Greg Abbott Facebook page. Pop in or check it out at 8:30 tomorrow, Texans for Greg Abbott's Facebook page. We'll have the Facebook Live streaming from there. And make sure you like the page and follow our campaign updates there. We try to update that site regularly with also whatever we have going on with the campaign across the state and checking in with different representatives. So it's not just tomorrow night may be the introduction for some Texans to learn about what's going on in the campaign, but we'll have that site updated basically throughout now until November.
Sounds great. John Jackson, campaign manager for Governor Greg Abbott. Look forward to seeing you, the governor, and everybody else tomorrow night. Should be a good time.
We're definitely looking forward to it, Rick, and I can't wait to meet you and see you and see what the Texans have to say about election night as well. And we also, I think one thing we failed to mention, we will be taking some questions probably on the feed there. So if you have questions and you're watching, make sure you enter your questions on the Facebook Live, and we're glad to take those live on the air there for folks that have questions about the election results.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I mean, not only do you get to see your governor and a lot of people talking about the things that affect our lives, our jobs, our kids, but you'll be able to table some questions, and we'll see if we can get the governor to answer some of those.
Definitely. Sounds good.
All right. John Jackson, campaign manager for Governor Greg Abbott. We appreciate your time very, very much. And speaking of that, since I'll have the opportunity to sit down with the governor, he will be obviously in campaign mode. We're going to have, a back and forth, the governor and myself. You've got questions for the governor, the number one politician in the Lone Star State. So when we come back, and David, you're going to have to take copious notes here because then we'll type them out and I'll have them with me at the event tomorrow. If you could ask the governor anything, well, you're going to get your opportunity. I'm your proxy. But if you could ask the governor anything at all, what would it be? All right. We'll take your questions. David will transcribe the questions for you as you tell us on the air, and then we'll have those typed out and ready to go when we get to the event tomorrow night. 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227. Your questions for the governor. That's next on News Talk 820 WBAP. All right, 3:31 the time. On a beautiful day in Dallas-Fort Worth. With you every day, Monday through Friday from 2 to 5, your afternoon drive, and of course heard all over the country. It's toll-free no matter where you are. 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227. My thanks to John Jackson, the campaign manager for Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Let me give you a rundown of what's going on. Tomorrow night, I will join the governor. Also, Alex Trevino. We will do a greeting. Alex will introduce himself. We are looking very much to be a part of this. I will be talking about the Democratic race. I will give my analysis on the evening several times as the evening goes on. We will talk about the congressional races as well. I'll chat with John Jackson, the campaign manager, again about the campaign, what it's doing heading into the general, what they need from Texans to ensure a victory. And then I will be doing a back and forth with Governor Greg Abbott himself. And so the question is, and by the way, you can view all of this on Facebook Live. It will be going on as soon as the event starts. It'll be available to you on Facebook Live. You can watch everyone, listen to everyone. Your questions for Governor Greg Abbott, that's what we're asking for right now. And we will jot them down, get them typed up in a format, and then I'll be taking those with me to see Governor Abbott tomorrow. All right, let's go to Larry. Larry in Dallas. Larry, thank you for waiting. How you doing, Larry?
I'm doing fine, Rick. How about yourself?
Good.
Well, I think I know why us Republicans hadn't shown up so much for early voting, and is that, we have jobs. We're out earning a living. We're not, sitting around collecting our government check in between whatever protest we're going to go do to protest against the president or whatever feelings just got hurt. So,
well, I'm hoping we see a change tomorrow because, I've been getting email for a while. People concerned, Rick, I showed up to vote. There were 3 Republicans and 37 Democrats. I'm hoping that changes because historically it doesn't bode well for Republicans, and we want to make sure that turns around. So I'm hoping tomorrow, I'm hoping to see something different tomorrow.
Well, so am I. But like your last caller, I'm not in the Philip Huffines race, but we've got the Jason Villalba, Lisa Luby Ryan race,
right,
which hasn't been quite as nasty on TV, but the social media has been going back and forth on it. So,
yeah, you're right. It's not comparable to, as far as TV coverage, but from what I understand, I've gone there twice. It's on social media; they're just ripping each other.
Oh yeah, and I do have a question for the governor, and that is, they had a plan in place to fix 635 from 75 all the way to I-30. And it was pretty much going to mirror image what was done between 75 and 35E with the toll HOV lanes.
Right.
And the governor and Senator Huffines and a couple others put the stop to it because it had the toll function to it, which was totally optional.
Right.
And we've been trying for years to fix this, and we had a plan in place, and the governor and them have put it off, and we want to know when it's going to get solved, when it's going to get fixed.
All right. Now give me, because I've got an email on that too. Why is it, he said he would stop the toll roads, yet DFW is adding toll roads to the point there'll be no way to go from Collin County to downtown Dallas without paying some kind of toll. In a sentence, your question for the governor would be,
when are we going to move forward with 635 now?
Okay.
Is the whole program.
Right. Exactly. You've got that, David? We'll get these typed up so I can read them, and I will take them with me to speak with the governor tomorrow evening. I appreciate the call very much, Larry. Let's go to Dwayne in Fort Worth. Dwayne, thank you for waiting. How you doing?
Pretty good, Rick. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Just wanted to give you a little different perspective because I do have Democrats that I associate with that are in high regard here in Tarrant County. They were telling me that they're experiencing a radicalization. The turnout is the radical left coming against their basic establishment candidates. And that's why the turnout for the Democrats is so much higher. And pay more attention, and we definitely need to all vote tomorrow. Please don't forget about that. But my question to the governor is there any plan in the state of Texas?
All right. I tell you what, David, I'm going to put this caller on hold. See if you can get with him because he's cutting out. I couldn't get his question. Tim in Dallas. Tim, thank you for waiting. How you doing, Tim?
Oh, man, great. And how about yourself?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Well, I got a couple of things. And the first one would be that the fact that we've taken God out of our schools, but the major thing that is getting us, we've taken him out of our homes and out of our own personal lives. Once we invite him back in and make the change of heart that we need to make, then we can start fixing problems and start educating our kids again. And you know, you and I have talked about that in the past, so I'm not going to beat the dead horse. But my question for the governor is this. I appreciate his demeanor, and I don't understand how he can do that with all the attacks coming at him, and I appreciate that in him as well. So if you could just pass that on, that would be great.
I will do that.
And we'll see what kind of answer he'll give us as to how he does it.
Tim, I will absolutely do that if you just joined us. I'll be joining the governor and many people tomorrow as election results come in. We'll be analyzing congressional races and, of course, other races. And the governor and I will be doing a Q&A, a back and forth. And if you've got a question that you would like to pose to the governor of the state of Texas, give it to me right now. David is transcribing it. It'll be typed up, and I will be taking it with me as I join the governor tomorrow evening. 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227. Let's go to William in Dallas. William, thanks for waiting. How you doing, William?
I'm doing quite well, sir. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm very well, thank you.
Awesome. Hey, just want to congratulate you on the show. I really love your show. You're doing an awesome job.
Thank you.
I just wanted to kind of reiterate and add two quick points, basically what you said regarding the Democrats being very motivated. I received a text the other day, and I'm a registered Republican, and where somebody basically said to support Beto, that Cruz's policies were really dangerous for immigration for Texas, which I disagree, as well as when I went to early vote, which I wanted to go ahead and knock it out, I had some free time, that the Democrats were out about 8-1. I ran into one Republican wanting to support me as opposed to about 8 Democrats were just passing out flyers and everything. So,
That's odd.
So I just wanted to let the Republicans know that if they need a wake-up call, I mean, they are coming out in droves, and just want to the wake-up call is there, so I just wanted to reiterate that. And I know you have a lot of good callers that want to call in, so I won't take up too much of your time. Just wanted to let you know that they are really being aggressive. So. Oh,
they are. I've spoken on this several times, but in the last few days, I have heard it more than I have heard it in months. There's no doubt about it. Democrats that perhaps haven't voted in a long time are lining up and it's because of Trump.
Definitely.
I mean, I know the political science people say, well, historically this and that, but you know, I do this every single day, and I'm telling you, nothing could get the Democrats more motivated than the man that's sitting behind the desk in the Oval Office. So I think it's probably important that we take note of this and do something about it.
I totally agree, and I'm glad you're bringing up the point and basically letting people know that that they're being really aggressive and they're out there and they're coming out in droves. So just I appreciate you pointing it out and letting people know, because the Republicans need to wake up and be ready. So thank you so much for your time, sir. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. If you've got a question for Governor Greg Abbott, we will take it when we come back. We're going to check that afternoon drive and try to get you around the hot spot, safe and sound. 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227. Your call straight ahead. All right, 347. Let me tell you why I'm concerned. I just got this in. I'm not going to give his name because he didn't say I could. Rick, I voted Republican in the last election. What I got was a bunch of Democrats running as Republicans. This election is the same people again. No reason to get excited. I'm not going to vote for these people again. Okay, that's a voter that has given up. And if even a small percentage of Republicans feel this way, we're done. You don't give up. You keep doing it till you get it right. And that's, I'm not saying it's on you, but I'm saying you can't take this mindset. Well, it doesn't matter anyway. I mean, you've all heard the excuses, right? And in fairness to this individual, you know, he may be that vested and feel that way. But you can't give up. I realize what happened in the last midterms. I was here behind a microphone. Well, not here, but I was behind a microphone someplace else. And I had just as many things to say as this individual. But you don't give up. You keep trying. David in Plano. David, thanks for waiting. How you doing, David?
I'm doing okay, Rick. I know exactly how the guy feels. It's one thing when you turn up for a general election, you know who the bad guy is, quote unquote.
Right.
But the primaries have always been so daunting. If you take your vote seriously at all, you don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to, and you sure as heck don't want to be fooled by some slick campaign ad.
Exactly.
And so we've got a number of there's a Senate seat down in Austin up for grabs. There's the land commissioner, and you hear one thing in one ad and something completely different. Yep. You know one of them is lying. The problem is where do we turn to? What resource is there? Like one comprehensive resource we can turn to that'll help us separate out the lies and the fiction from the truth?
Well, my answer to that is no. There is not one single comprehensive source that you can simply go to and print out and say, okay, this is the way I'm going. There's too many people involved. It's just like the Huffines race. I got to be very careful with what I say, but good Lord, I have not seen anything so contentious in a long, long time as far as TV ads. And, they both can't be right and they both can't be wrong.
It's the same thing for the George Bush.
Yes.
George P. Bush.
George P. Bush.
Yeah, exact same thing.
It takes,
and also Cindy Burkett.
It takes some work. What have they done? What was their voting record like? Where did they set on specific issues? Did they give a direct answer or do you get a political answer? And I think you know what I mean by that.
Oh, yeah.
So at the end of the day, I very rarely will say you need to vote for this person or vote for that person. I just don't. I don't view my my job description that way. I mean, I will tell you where I'm going, but this is talk radio. I'm not a news person. This is opinion driven, and I can give my opinion. But at the end of the day, I want people to take the time to vet the candidates. What have they done for me lately? What are some of their key issues? What is their voting record? All that stuff's in public domain. That's how I want people to vote. I want them to vote with their, obviously, I want the Republicans to win, because for them not to win means Democrats win, and I don't think that's good for anybody. There are certain issues where I may vary from that position. But I think it's so important for people not to vote based on what a talk show host says or a yard sign says. That's not, I go back to, all those purple fingers in the Middle East, the first free and open election, not without some safety issues for the first time in 3.5 decades? And there were snipers on buildings shooting at them. And of course the lines would, scatter, but then they would come back. People took it, we're trying to figure out how to make voting easier. These people are risking their lives to vote. And now I'm not suggesting that, obviously. But, I've said this for time immemorial. We put more time, more money, and more resources into dispensing lottery tickets at the local convenience store than we do protecting the integrity of the vote in this country. And that needs to change too. Again, that slippery slope. Who is for protecting your family and their education and their health needs? Who is... I'm sorry, it should be obvious to anyone that will look with an unbiased eye, and you must look with an unbiased eye, and what's important to you and your family and your job and your kid's future. It should be simple. Make no mistake about it, this president has energized the Democratic base in perhaps a way that they couldn't even do. So you've got to vote. You have to vote. And historically, midterms have a low voter turnout to begin with. All right. 3:54 the time. Good call. I appreciate it. Gave me a chance to sort of pontificate a little bit. We'll come back with your calls, your questions for Governor Abbott. I will transcribe them, type them, and take them with me as I spend some time with the governor tomorrow night. I'm Rick Roberts, News Talk 820 WBAP.
This is the news and talk of Texas. Now, it's the Rick Roberts Show on 820 AM, 99.5 FM, HD2, News Talk 820 WBAP.
Well, I know there's got to be a few 100 million more like me, just trying to keep it free. Yeah.
Rick Roberts starts. Rick Roberts
now.
Starts right now.
Here we go. How about that? All right. 4:04 the time. If you just joined us, tomorrow evening I'll be joining Alex Trevino, John Jackson, the campaign manager for Greg Abbott, Governor Greg Abbott, and the governor himself. I'll be joining them. I think it's what time is it, David? From 8:30 until 10.
8:30 to 10 o'clock, roughly.
8:30 until 10 o'clock tomorrow evening. We'll be discussing a lot of things. We'll be looking at some early returns. We'll be looking at how the voting is going. I'll be giving some analysis on the evening. Then I'll be doing a back and forth with Governor Abbott, and I thank him for the invitation. It should be a good time, and you can be a part of it because it's all Facebook Live.
That's correct. And what we also did just now is I just posted on Facebook with your picture, Rick Roberts, and if they want to put their question there, they can put it on Facebook.
All right.
But they can also call in.
Let's tell people how they can be a part of that Facebook Facebook Live event tomorrow.
No problem.
All right. 4:05 the time. Let's go to, David in Fort Worth. David, thank you for waiting. How you doing, David?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good.
I want to say, first of all, we enjoyed the show.
Thank you.
My question is the Texas Constitution strictly prohibits an income tax and an ad valorem tax, and yet we still get charged property tax ad valorem every year. Why does he permit this violent violation of the Texas state constitution? That was my question.
All right. I get that every time I talk to the governor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every single time.
Do you have an answer?
No, I won't speak for the governor.
Okay.
I just won't do that. But I will ask the question.
Okay.
And if you're a part of the Facebook audience, you will hear him answer that. And we'll tell you how to become a part of that Facebook audience in just a second or two. All right. Is it Dwayne? I guess it is. Dwayne, thank you for the call. How you doing, Dwayne?
Yeah, thank you, Rick. My question to the governor is anyone thinking about increasing or doing something to address mental health issues in the state of Texas without the federal government assistance? I mean, we have a serious problem here in that yesterday I had to call the police to come and take my son away, who's 29. And they don't want to do it unless he's saying he's going to commit suicide or he's going to hurt somebody else.
Okay, so your question, and I won't ask the situation with your son because that's none of my business or anyone else. But suffice to say, it got to the point where you needed assistance.
Exactly.
And they didn't want to give you assistance?
Well, when the police show up, they say, well, is he thinking about committing suicide or is he threatening to hurt somebody else? And the answer to both questions is no, but he is really nutsoid. And if he hadn't went out chucking rocks at cars yesterday, somewhere between 9:30 and 10:30, and then came back to the house, and then when they saw that he was dressed in the shorts and the shirt that he was dressed in, then they said, well, were you chucking rocks? And he's so psycho, he said, yeah. And then they still weren't going to take him. They had to get an EMT to come out and evaluate him. I'm like, this dude is psycho. And this is not the first time, Rick. This is like the fifth time.
Okay, so I'm trying to pare back, if you will, a question out of this. What are you asking? What regional mental health facilities are available to someone that has not threatened to commit suicide or threatened to harm someone else, but by their behavior, they're exhibiting the fact that they need to be looked at?
Exactly. And the local JPS, I'm in Tarrant County, there, you got to be pretty out of it for them to take you in, but this is serious. I mean, he was chucking rocks at cars near my house, and I don't think a 29-year-old should be doing that.
Well, no. Let me ask you this: how did this resolve itself, or did it resolve itself?
Well, they finally got to talking to him and asking him specific questions that I was telling him about. He goes into psychosis. I mean, but anyways, he'll answer questions off the really out of space, and they finally said, yeah, we'll take him. But I had to really, be on him and say he needs to go. And this is not the first time.
All right. You sound, forgive me, you sound like you're needing some long-term assistance here. Has your son been diagnosed with anything?
You name it, he's been diagnosed with it. Psychotic, bipolar, manic depressive, schizophrenic. You just go down the list, and he's been diagnosed by JPS.
Okay. Is he living in your home?
That's the only place he's got to live. Yes.
All right. So, and your problem is with the laws the way they're set up, until or unless he threatens to do harm to someone or himself, you can't get any assistance.
Exactly, until yesterday. It was a miracle they took him, because they've been here 4 or 5 times before, and over the last 10 years. This has been a long problem. And it's just like the case down in Florida. You know, how many times do they have to show up and not do something about it?
So
and my question is since the 80s, the federal government got out of the mental health business, basically, and the states are strapped, and we only have one state mental hospital, and that's in Terrell.
So let me ask you, Dwayne, like I said, I don't want to pry too much, but in the interest of trying to figure out where you're sitting, what is it you believe would be in his best interest, and obviously the people he lives with?
He needs to be at a place, because they keep him for the max 14 days. He needs to be at a place for 2 to 3 months till he balances out some way, because he doesn't like the drugs. And most of these people who are like that don't like the drugs because it wipes them out, and they don't get balanced. And he gets off his drugs, and I can't make a 29-year-old, 6'3", 350-pound person do anything. And, you know, he starts drinking, which is the absolute worst thing for him to do. And I can't stop him. And he's out driving a car in public, and nobody cares for it. That is the bottom line.
Well, look, you know me as a talk show host, but I do care. I do care that, that you're in a situation that you can't get out of. He needs help before he harms himself or someone else, or you, or whoever he lives with. And I will ask the governor that question. In the meantime, if anyone listening can wrap their head around this, and I don't mean that in a derogatory fashion at all, wrap their head around this and know of a program that might be suitable for this young man, give me a call. 12 minutes after the hour, I will ask the question, Dwayne. 4:12 the time. I'm Rick Roberts, News Talk, 820 WBAP. All right, 17 minutes after the hour, 4:17 the time. I don't usually ask a lot of the audience. I just don't. I realize you've got lives and kids and jobs and school, and you got tons of things to do. This month, with the fallen Richardson police officer, I've asked you to reach out in a tangible way, and you have, unbelievably. God and Prayer back in schools at the website. Facebook, WBAP. You have come through to the tune of about 66,000, 67,000 people reached. Thank you very much. If we can get it up a little bit more, I'm going to expose it to a national audience. Tomorrow, I will be with Governor Abbott analyzing congressional races, looking at the state of Texas. Quite honestly, I'll be taking a look at the Democrat race, what we need to do there. I'll be giving analysis, as I said, and then I'll be doing a question and answer with Governor Abbott. And I'm very, very pleased and happy that he extended the invitation. To that end, my audience probably is the most important thing to me. I don't know if you'll be able to get in or not. If you go to Facebook and like Texans for Greg Abbott, once you like it, you can go live on Facebook. It will send an alert to your computer, your tablet, your smartphone, whatever it happens to be. And you can watch the entire event with, it's going to be Alex Trevino, Texans for Greg Abbott, myself, the governor, of course, Kelly Hancock. There's John Jackson, which we just talked to, the campaign manager. You can watch the whole thing take place. You can watch me asking the governor your questions. So again, go to the Facebook, Texans for Greg Abbott. Once you like that, you will go live on Facebook. It'll send you an alert. So it should be a good time. If you have any questions, you can go to the governor's website as well. And then you can join us for, tens of thousands getting together on Facebook, a Facebook Live event. And I will ask the questions that I'm getting from you right now. Let's go to Mark in Justin. Mark, thanks for waiting. How you doing, Mark?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. One thing I'm a little confused. Maybe you can help me out here. I just moved here from Montana a little while ago, and this whole primary thing, it seems really weird to me that they allow Democrats to vote Republican or vice versa. And what I'm wondering is if you choose, like say I decide I'm a Republican, but say I wanted to go vote Democrat, does that mean I have to vote Democrat in the general election?
All right. So where in Montana are you from, by the way?
Helena.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with it. Miles City, Glendive, the whole works. Open primaries in the U.S. An open primary is a primary election that does not require the voter to be affiliated with a political party. In order to vote for partisan candidates in a traditional open primary, voters can select one party's ballot and vote for that party's nomination. And so the question then comes up, can unaffiliated voters vote in the primary? Well, it depends on where you are. Primaries in New York are closed. That means only registered Democrats can vote for a Democratic candidate, and only registered Republicans can vote for a Republican candidate. There are actually two different physical ballots, one for each party. If you're unaffiliated, independent, you can't vote in the primary in New York. As I tell people about this that aren't familiar with it, what happens if it goes to a runoff, especially in the southern U.S., a second primary between the two leading candidates of the first primary to provide nomination by a majority rather than by plurality? That's the origin or the meaning of a runoff primary. You follow what I'm saying? It is odd to some people that have never been around it. If you look at this, can Texas voters loyal to one party cause chaos in the other party's primary? Well, in Texas, you can vote in either party's primary. Could that affect who ends up being in the general election? And by the way, your answer, you're not bound by that primary vote, by the way. If you're loyal to a political party, if it's a fellow Democrat or Republican, have you thought about opposing the party in the primary? Well, a lot of people have thought about that. Texas is one of 15 states that holds open primaries. That means you don't have to declare a party affiliation until you get to the polls. Like one guy said, if I vote in the 2018 Democratic primary, can I then vote in any possible primary runoff for Republicans? Well, simply put, no, you can't. If there's a runoff, you can't then cross party lines and vote in a runoff of the opposite party. You either don't vote or you vote in the party primary that you voted in to begin with. You can actually, a good area or a good place to find information on that is Texas Politics Project at the University of Texas. It's not really confusing, but it brings up a lot of questions as to what you can and can't do. It looks like there might be some important primary runoffs on both sides of the aisle this year. So hopefully that answers your question. If it doesn't, go to Texas Politics Project at the University of Texas website, and it'll help you out with that. 4:24 the time. Sorry about that one, a little bit long. We'll take your calls, 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227. Your call straight ahead in the court of public opinion. All right, 4:32 the time. Earlier we had John Jackson, campaign manager for Texans for Greg Abbott on. The governor invited me to come to an event tomorrow night giving analysis on the races and doing a question and answer period with the governor, which I am very humbled and proud to go to. I will be asking the questions that you want answered. So if you've got a question for Governor Abbott, I'll take it on the air. David will transcribe it and then, of course, type it up so I can read it because I can't read his writing. And I will be asking the governor that question tomorrow night at the event. Let's go to Rebecca in Dallas. Rebecca, how you doing?
Rick, pretty good, buddy. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Love your show.
Thank you.
Hey, you bet. I don't know if somebody's already asked this question, but I would like to ask our beloved governor how long it's going to take to get this wall up on the southern border to stop this alien invasion that I've personally witnessed the last 10 or 15 years.
So you want a status report on the wall?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay.
I guess maybe some of that depends on the federal bucks, but that kind of leads into one other question. May I ask one other question?
Sure.
Whenever somebody's killed on the news, like when a drunk driver or something, I would wonder if there's legislation that could be enacted to possibly state that this illegal alien killed this person tonight. I always want to know that when it happens because it happens a whole lot right here in Dallas-Fort Worth, unfortunately, and all over Texas, drunk driving or a murder, homicide. I don't know. Gosh, I would just like to know the status. If something like that could be done. And I really feel for that guy that called earlier about his son.
Yeah.
I've been in mental health for over 25 years in Dallas, Texas. And I got to tell you, it's a sad situation. It truly is, and my heart just broke for him.
Yeah,
But,
you could hear the frustration in his voice. It's a tough position to be in.
Oh my gosh, it's horrible. It's horrible. But there are people that do care and do love, but it's going to take a little more than that. It's going to take opening these the psych hospitals again, probably, so that they have a safe place to put people that are a danger to themselves or others. It's just logical and rational, Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I've got your questions, Rebecca, and they will be typed up, and I'll be taking them with me to the event with the governor tomorrow evening. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And by the way, before I forget, the early voting here in Texas, those numbers should be a wake-up call for the GOP. Democrats have doubled their 2014 turnout in early voting. And I know a lot of people want to dismiss it. Oh, don't worry about that. We're not in a position not to worry about anything. I believe it's a myth. It's not right. What if it is right? Early voting turnout for this year's Democratic primary doubled since the last midterm. And all I can chalk it up to is that Trump has motivated a lot of people. He's motivated a lot of conservatives, but he's motivated a lot of Democrats too. According to the Texas Secretary of State's website, which they track only the 15 counties with the most registered voters, Democrats outvoted Republicans 2-1. It's on the GOP side, 350,000 people voted early in the Republican primary. That's like at 16%. The Democrats have a 98% increase. So, I'm not a sky is falling kind of guy. I don't believe black helicopters are hovering just above cloud cover spying on my every move. I'm not a conspiracy nut, but numbers don't lie. And you can only go by history. So if there was anything that I wanted to get across today, it's GOP. It's time to wake up and smell the coffee. You got to vote tomorrow. Tom in Burleson. Tom, thanks for waiting. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing the best I can, Rick. How are you?
I'm right there with you. The best I can.
Yeah. Well, you make my hour-and-a-half drive home each day wonderful. So.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I have you read an email earlier, and just inaction is still taking an action. If you don't do anything, nothing will ever change.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
absolutely.
And then, what you need to ask the governor is, I don't know if anybody asked this, but does the governor think that protecting our schools, is that a local, a county, a state, or a federal issue?
When you say protecting, what do you mean specifically?
Well, we've had all the gun violence, and do we need to have armed security at our schools? Is that a local issue, a county issue, or is it a state issue? Which, I kind of think each state should, because they all have their own different gun laws,
right.
So it has to be done that way. So does he think for Texas, is that a state issue or a local issue? So,
no, I got you. I see what you mean. That's a good question.
And then the other thing, property taxes is on a lot of people's minds. So.
Yeah, property tax.
Last time.
Yeah, property tax is huge. It's a huge issue, and
none of the candidates are even touching it because I think it's such a hot bomb.
I think you're right. I mean, nobody, any candidate generally doesn't want to make a ripple in the pond for fear of losing a vote. And this election is no different. But it's, I would say, between school safety, it is probably the second or third question that people come up with is property tax.
Yeah. So keep up the good work. We appreciate your insight every day.
All right, my friend. I appreciate it very, very much. Let's go to Bob. Bob, thank you for waiting. How you doing, Bob?
I've got one thing to say about the election and two questions for the governor. Which do you want first?
Well, give me your statement, and then we'll get to the questions. Otherwise, David will be jumping all over.
My statement is this. You had a caller earlier, and he was all troubled about the fact that some of the Republicans are really more like a Democrat, liberal,
Yeah, that was an
email. And he wasn't going to vote anymore. Well, I say, look, folks, get out and vote in the primary, because that's where you stop that kind of Republican from getting into the general election. And then when we get to the general, you won't have to worry about it.
No, you're viewing it as thinning the herd, I think.
I'm sorry, what?
Sorry, that's a colloquialism. You're viewing it as thinning out the herd, getting rid of
thinning out the herd. That's a good idea. Yes.
Yeah.
In other words, how are you going to keep a never Trumper, for instance? How are you going to keep him out of the general election unless you beat him in the primary?
Right.
So go get the primary votes out, and everybody go vote, and then we'll see what happens in the general.
Yep. Yeah, I got you. Now your questions. Oh, by the way,
here's what my two questions for the.
Hold on just a second.
For the governor are.
Hold on just a minute. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I just had the numbers pulled up. What county do you live in?
I'm in Dallas County. I'm Coppell.
Okay. In 2014, and I'm talking Democrats here. In 2014, 11 days of early voting, 32,000 Democrats voted. 63,000 voted this time in Dallas County. And it's that way in every single county. So these people that say, don't worry about it. Harris County, 22,000 Democrats voted in 2014, 70,000 voted this year. This is something you can't turn a blind eye to.
No, that's true. And I also have in the back of my mind, and I'm not trying to be racial or anything, how many of those were legal American citizen voters?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
I know you can't, and I just raised the question.
All right. Now your questions.
All right. For the governor, does he think that the president has done a good job in his first year? That's one question. And if he says yes, then I want to know what he would be able to do, because he's the governor of one of the largest states in the largest state in the United States, not population-wise, but otherwise. Anyway, what will he do in his relationships with other governors, because they have governor meetings every year, to further get the other people to get behind the governor and not be never-Trumpers or that kind of stuff?
That's a good question. These numbers we're seeing should be a wake-up call to every single Republican running in Texas. If you don't run a campaign that speaks to you, Bob, or me, or anyone else, voters in general, at an individual level, we could lose. In past years in Texas, you could run a really, really horrible campaign and still win. That's not the case anymore. Good call, Bob. I appreciate it very much. I'll try to get in a few more questions and tell you how to join in the Facebook Live with Governor Abbott, myself, and lots of people tomorrow. Should be tomorrow evening. Should be a good time. 4:43 the time. I'm Rick Roberts, News Talk 820 WBAP. All right, 4:48 the time. Let's go to George in Fort Worth. George, thanks for waiting. How you doing, George?
I'm doing well, Rick. Thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
The reason I called is that the Tea Party has disappeared. We need to get those people motivated to where they get their voters out and get on the streets and get this done. I'm like you. I'm terrified that the Democrats are going to go toehold and it just get worse. So what do you think about the Tea Party doing this?
I'm for anybody that can keep Democrats out of office. And it's not because I have a problem with my Democrat neighbor. I have a problem with Democrat lawmakers in D.C.
Yes. And how can the Tea Party help us keep them out of D.C.?
Numbers count in any election. I'll tell you what didn't help the last time around with the Tea Party. I was a lifelong Republican until Bush went on the amnesty tour. They're just doing jobs that Americans won't do. That was patently false. That wasn't true. They left their conservative base to cast their net in hopes of building their voting blocks, and in turn spawned the Tea Party. The problem with the Tea Party and Republicans is that they were adversarial. They weren't working together. If they were working together, it wouldn't have even been close.
If you call the Republican establishment and then you have the Tea Party people, isn't that a basic reason why Trump got elected? Because the establishment wasn't doing the right thing and America just basically got fed up with it?
Yes, I said it numerous times. If the Republicans want to win, work hand in glove with the Tea Party folks, and you will build a consensus. They did just the opposite. And the American people, the American voters, whether they were conservative or Democrat, they just said, enough is enough. This isn't about you, it's about us.
I have one more thing to say. Rick, you're a terrific voice. Can you get in the middle of this and start trying to get these people's groups together?
I've been asked to run for a lot of things. I wouldn't do it. Number one, it doesn't pay enough. Number two, I can do more behind this microphone than I could ever do, hopping from stop to stop. But I can tell you this, if the Tea Party folks, they want to return to prominence, and if the Republicans want to keep what they've won, they've got to start working together because the Tea Party's still out there.
Yes, and Bill, please be, Rick, please be the voice for us. Get this thing going because I'm terrified. I don't want Nancy Pelosi to be, oh, dear God, no.
Well, I thought that America had finally had enough with 8 years of Obama, the poser in chief. And I think they did. That's why Trump is in office. The problem with something as dramatic as that kind of dramatic change, is that people feel like, okay, well, it's over. I can take a breath. You can't.
Yes.
You can't wait. You can't take a breath. It took a long time for this country to slide down that slope, but it slid, and we're at the bottom. We've still got tons of work to do. We're not a monarchy. One guy doesn't call all the shots. So while you might be happy that Trump is in office, it can all go away very, very quickly. Listen, I appreciate the call very, very much. Let me ask you if you would go to Facebook WBAP. Seems like I'm touting Facebook all today, but go to Facebook WBAP. You'll see put God in prayer back in schools. That is my long-term dream if we're going to put value back on human life and stop these horrific school shootings. But you can listen to what I had to say there. We only cut about 5 minutes long, that link, something like that?
5 to 6.
Yeah, so it doesn't take up a lot of your time. I know better than to ask you for too much of your time. You're busy like everybody else. But you can go there, listen to that, share it if you would. And then tomorrow I will be joining Governor Greg Abbott at an event. We'll be discussing the congressional race. We'll be talking about things going on right here at home. I will be asking the governor various questions that you've called in with, and you can watch it all on Facebook. It's a Facebook Live event, and you go to Facebook, like Texans for Greg Abbott. Once you like it, you'll get an alert to your computer, your tablet, your smartphone, and you can watch everything happening as it goes on. You can hear me asking your questions to the governor. Got some other speakers. Should be a great, great time. All right? They're going to wrap it up, boys? All right. Now, pull that saddle off, start brushing him down, put him back in the stall for 24 hours. We'll get to it. We'll get to it again tomorrow. 1-800-288-WBAP. Go ahead and save that. You'll need it because this is a caller-driven show. I've got a lot to say, but I know you do too, and that's what we do every single day. Stick around. Mark Levin, he's next. I'll be back with you for your afternoon drive beginning at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. God's blessings on each and every one of you. That's always my priority, whether we agree or not. I'm Rick Roberts in the Court of Public Opinion on News Talk 820 WBAP.
Well, I grew up in one of them old farm towns where they hit it hard till the sun goes down. Nobody really seemed to care that we were living in the middle of nowhere. We just figured that's how it was, and everybody else was just like us, soaking in the rain, baking in the sun. Don't quit till the job gets done. That's the only way I know. Don't stop till everything's gone.